Hi, Misha here, and we cover an HK or two on here, as well as SIG as an FN, and people have asked us about the MR556. We've covered it in the past, starting with kind of the earliest versions. I think our first video was 2011, 2012. Well, just so happens, coincidence, in January, the current version just came in. This is dated 2022. And it does have the current furniture. And Fox was already interested in shooting one. So we're going to do that today. We're going to shoot it and compare it with some piston guns that frankly didn't exist in America when the MR556A1 was first released. And I'm not saying we're going to definitively answer the question if it's worth getting or not, or how it compares. We're going to give it a go, and you're going to get our opinion, all that good stuff. So we'll see what we can get to. Before that, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to the Patreon page. With that, let's dive in. Hi, Misha here, and a few have asked, and it really is time. Let's revisit the Heckler & Koch MR556 in 2023. And for that, I have a just-in example shipped January of this year. So it has the current handguard, barrel, and accessory set. And this will be video 1. You know the style by now. I'm going to give first impressions, my thoughts. And in video 2, we'll take it to the range and you'll get more of Fox's thoughts. And this could very well be one we rather disagree on. Now, in the past, I've had quite a bit of experience with an MR556. Starting off with just an upper kit from HK. Then a complete gun that was still Generation 1. And then years later, I had, I guess you call it a Generation 2 gun. So I've had experience with 2.5 guns. This will be 3.5. Has my opinion changed? What do I think about it? What about the AR-15 piston market today? It's a very different world than when this gun first debuted in 2009 and 10. How does it hold up? How is HK's quality? We'll go into all that. Pros, cons. You know how it goes. Of course, please do like, share, and subscribe. It really helps, especially with recent things on YouTube. And if you'd like to help support us, check out the link to Patreon. So, yeah, this is the basic model. I'm sure everyone knows it, but just to be fair, 16.5-inch barrel, threaded 1/2x28. Comes with a birdcage flash rider. Has a monolithic handguard. Free-floating barrel. Under the handguard, we have a short-stroke gas piston. This is the M-Lock version that's been out for a while. Before that, there was a key mod, and before that, the original version had a shorter quad rail setup. Moving in the back, we have very much AR-type upper and lower, including a port door. We have a top rail, although it is 2 sections, rear and front. We have an AR-style handle, AR-style receiver extension with an HK stock, although most standard stocks will fit this. Same goes for pistol grips. Newer ones come with this grip. And it feeds from most all AR-15 mags. It's Stenag mag compatible. And these are assembled in the USA using some parts imported from Germany and some parts made here. And flipping it over, not much different to see on this side aside from some more markings. And here is the stock fully extended out. You can lock the stock down with the tool, which is in the butt stock. There is a compartment back here. Pretty neat, but quite a thick stock with some interesting placements. We have more or less standard sling loops in the back, and we have QD sling socket up here. or you could just mount something to the rail itself. This does not take standard AR-15 triggers because of the safety, but they are very much styled after it, and well, it's one of those things where most of the components are AR style, but because of some of the changes, they're not directly compatible with some exceptions. But because of the short stroke gas piston system, a lot of things are different. And here are the accessories it comes with. We have a soft tactical case. We have an HK tool kit. And we have one PMag. So that's the current accessory set. My original gun came with a hard case. You can argue hard versus soft. Both have pros and cons. But it came with an HK steel mag, which I think most would value more than a Magpul, even though there's nothing wrong with Magpuls. It's always come with these tools. They ship most of their guns with them. But the original version had the HK diopter sights, clamp on rear and clamp on front post. Again, it had the shorter pick rail handguard as well. The next generation did away with the HK sights, unfortunately, but did replace them with Troy style folding sights. Now here we get no sights at all. We also no longer have the HK pistol grip in favor of this one. I honestly forget one of the brands. It's one of the Magpul grips. It's rubber coated. Doesn't feel bad at all, frankly, but it's not the HK grip, and it doesn't match the stock, in my opinion. Now, the Precision model actually comes with a Magpul stock instead of the HK style. So I am not digging the change on pistol grip or the lack of sights at all, and I can't even see to use them. But what I do like is the new barrel. It's still quite a chunky profile, but it has been slimmed down just enough, especially under the handguard, that this is no longer quite the pig that the original was. And the same goes for this handguard. Even though it's longer than the original, it feels lighter. They also changed the way you remove it. Flip it back over. Going to this giant screw bolt instead of an Allen key system. That's pretty good, and a lot of military guns use that. The only funny thing is there's actually not a giant screwdriver on the kit. So I think they could have done something about that. But let's go ahead and yank this off, because I want to show you the barrel profile and talk about the gas system. And because we're on YouTube, I need to do that off camera, so be right back. So just unscrew this. Interestingly, it is not captive. And then it just pulls off. It's only bolted on the back, but actually it's very precision fit, very stable. And again, it's quite a light handguard. M-lock slots. But a pick rail on top that's not removable. And that pretty much covers your gas tube. And you do need to remove the handguard to get to your gas piston here, which means you do need a tool to get here to clean it. Could be wrong, I could be misremembering, it has been a number of years, but this barrel does seem thinner to me. I don't recall this step down being quite so severe behind the gas block. And if you look forward, there's another step down in front, and then a step up when you get to the barrel threads. So I think they did slim it down some, because I really remember the first MR556 upper and then the full complete gun I had just being chunky. Now, this gas piston, short stroke, and it should look familiar to you because it's essentially the same one in the G36, which itself, of course, is based somewhat on the AR-18. Here's our gas block. Note the hole there. And note that it's non-adjustable. It does have the notches in the block where you could put the folding front sight, but of course that's not compatible with the handguard. So, not a bad thing. Pretty easy to get to the gas system. Taking it further out, it's very easy. Just pull it back on the spring, come out. It's not something you would need to clean often, but it is something good to get to. So, it's up to you. Could be easier, frankly, toolless, but it could be a lot worse. It is nominally free-floated. And good amount of real estate there. And the handguard slides on quite well. It's a very tight fit, but still easy to get on. But you can tell there's kind of a coarse finish to the metal. It's not really slick, at least not compared to, say, like a SIG finish. There's a little bit of, you can hear a little bit of grit when you put it on. But again, it is smooth. You can tell the machining is very well done. There's just a little bit of grittiness because of the finish. One area that it's always kind of been criticized, people thought it was them being cheap, was this polymer port door, which is frankly absolutely absurd for people to criticize that. Sorry, this has a very stiff pull, as you just saw. But modern polymers are very durable. I mean, people trust their Glock frames and whatnot. So in a lot of ways, I actually think this would be more durable than an alloy cover, because I have had alloy port covers break. I'm sure if this was a problem, HK would have not have gone with it. Plus, it keeps it from slapping and, digging up your receiver. Plus, I think it goes better for the idea of these being operable in salt water and whatnot. So no, I actually think people are missing the mark on this, and that it's actually a positive thing. Now, one thing is the safety. It's been touted over and over. You can safe it with the trigger discharged, whereas on a standard AR you could not. Fine, it doesn't hurt anything, but one way on a standard AR, I like to see if the gun is cocked or not, is try to put the safety on. If it won't go on, then I know my gun isn't cocked. So you kind of lose that. Now, this two-stage trigger is very nice, but it pretty much is the only thing that works with the safety. And then it has what is more or less a standard trigger guard. Interestingly, this top rail actually sits a bit high. You might be able to see here. And that's partially because of the gas piston and the key coming back. And you can see the step up here by the charging handle. So your optic will sit a little bit higher than on a standard AR. We have a somewhat enhanced charging handle with a large latch on the left, but the right is standard. And there's an extra heavy buffer back here to work with the gas piston system. Note that here's our push button to release magazines, but when we flip it over, the mag catch is not replicated on the left side. Similarly, the bolt release is on the left but not on the right. So the only component that's ambidextrous is the safety, which by the standards of when this gun was designed was fine, but kind of by modern standards is a bit unremarkable. Another area that people do criticize that doesn't really bug me are these push pins. You can't just push them out by hand. There's a tool in the buttstock, a wrench that you can use. Or if you've got a 223 round, you can use a bullet tip as well. Okay, it was actually a 5.7 bullet that was closest to hand. Either way, you just push it in and they come out. Now, some might say this is done to make it more civilian. That's true, but it also makes these pins lock in very tight, upper to lower, meaning that there's very little play, if any at all. And of course, the bolt comes out standard AR-15 style. but is generally speaking not interchangeable. And then it does have this firing pin safety here, meaning that the firing pin can only be hit when the bolt is in battery and the hammer goes forward. Some people like this, some people don't. Generally speaking, I think it's a good idea. Out of battery discharges are no one's friend. And HK does cut back the front bottom part of the bolt just a bit, where full auto controls will not interact as they should properly, meaning this is a dedicated semi-auto bolt group. And the machining in here is all nice. It's a smoother surface internally than the outside. The outside's got more of a matte, coarse finish. The inside is glass smooth. It's high degree of polish. I mean, it's HK. No surprises there. So, otherwise, just assembles like any other AR. It's a little bit of a spring-loaded bolt head, which I actually do like. It makes putting it in just a little bit easier. And the firing pin too has a light spring. These aren't really stout springs, but nice. So, should have no dimpled primers, out of battery discharges. It's a nice, safe bolt. But to be honest, for what these rifles cost, or even what these bolt groups cost from HK, better damn well be. And that kind of gets us to the thing. Is all of it worth it? Cost, and what have you. I do find it slightly more annoying that you also need a bullet tip to put the push pin back in. But oh well. So is it worth it? Of course, that's entirely subjective. And you know the guns I own. We've featured several of them and revisited them. So I'm not adverse to spending for quality. Buy once, cry once. That's not the issue here. But I wasn't sure when we had these come in if I decided if I wanted to keep one now. Maybe I want to do one. After all, the German Bundeswehr just adopted the G95A1, which is a variant based on, well, this, essentially the HK416A8. So maybe I'd like to do a clone. And therein lies kind of the problem. This could be made into one, I'm sure, at least a reasonable facsimile. But even for someone who's used to buying Swiss parts and things, HK parts for the 416 MR556 are ludicrously expensive. Handguards, even this buttstock. This is like a $300 or $400 buttstock. That's why not getting the pistol grip is annoying, because even just the darn HK pistol grip is $100. And those sights, those diopter sights we no longer get, they're like $500 or something even crazy. So yeah, if I were to do it, I'd want to make it into a clone of something, either a Gewehr 95 or maybe a U.S. Marine Corps M27 ER, but that would cost quite a bit of money. Which, okay, maybe wouldn't be so bad if the base rifle wasn't quite a bit of money. After all, when these came out, they were $2,500. It's been 10 years, and they aren't shipping them with as many accessories, so the price has come down, right? No, these cost more now than they did 10 years ago. Quite a bit more. And while this was pretty unique on the market at the time it came out, being HK sure, but also being a military grade short stroke piston gun, that was then. This is now. And other guns have caught up to it and even, in my opinion, surpassed it on the market. Controls are very standard AR, starting with the stock. The button's nice and recessed, easy to use, you can lock it down. Charging handle is mostly standard with an extended latch. On this side we have the ambi safety, and we have the mag release, port door, brass deflector, forward assist. And on this side, again, very similar AR controls. Not enlarged, not expanded, just similar. As far as charging it, that is a stiff spring. And this is new, so I'm not going to hold it a lot against it, but there's, I don't want to call it grit, but there's something there. It's not glass feeling. I have a feeling that will kind of go away with firing though. The trigger is a 2-stage. And quite nice. The first stage is relatively short, at the second stage being longer. And I think they rate it at about a 7-pound trigger, but yeah, maybe it is. It's hard to say, but it is a nice feeling trigger, guys. As far as the hold open, you can really tell with the spring in here. Latch it open. Let it go. It has a lot of authority, but what it doesn't have is that springy sprunginess, so that's nice. And the handguard is reasonably comfortable. It's not exactly rounded, it's more of a hexagonal, octagonal shape. And it does have quite a bit of openness in the front. And I do like that while it is extended past the gas block, it's not all the way out to the muzzle itself. For a while that was kind of one of the trends. I did not like it. I like this style a bit more where you have at least a few inches of exposed barrel. On some guns, like say the Bren 2 carbine, I don't like the extended handguard because you can't get to the adjustable gas block without removing it or something. On this, since it's not an adjustable gas block, that doesn't bother me as much. But that's the HK. Now let's compare it with our two other short stroke gas piston rotating bolt 223 Stenag mag compatible candidates today. Last time we looked at an MR556 on this channel a couple years ago, I compared it with this rifle, or at least one like it. This is the Taiwanese T91. And then you could easily get the Wolf A1 uppers, and you could get conversion parts from T91 Tactical. Post-COVID, I'm not sure, but this gun I put together with an original buttstock, original lower, even an original lower here, and then a complete upper. Hard to quantify the cost and value because this was something I assembled, and I've gone through several things, but this is exactly like a more or less modern T91 issue gun. No work needs to be done, and it costs me certainly under $2,000, probably under $1,500. Whereas if I were to put this in a G95 or M27 configuration, good God, I don't even know. Now, is this a better gun? Well, in terms of fit and finish, machining, no. The Taiwanese guns are very nice for what they are, but the machining level is nowhere near the HK. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But it is a military service gun, and I think you do get to the point where it's good enough quality. On top of that, I like that the gas system is right here. There's no disassembly, tool disassembly required. You simply flip this lever, pull this packet out, and your gas piston pulls right out. This even came with the correct 14.5-inch barrel with pin-in welded on muzzle device, whereas the HKs all come with 16.5-inch barrels, which, to be fair, a number of HK 416s do have a 16.5-inch barrel. But usually when people think of this gun, they think of the shorter barreled versions. And here we do. And these still come with their correct sights. Here's the simple rear sight. There's also a carry handle. And I've really enjoyed this gun over the years. It has plenty of military service. And I think in a lot of ways, it's more serviceable, more end-user friendly, mainly because of the disassembly, and it takes more standard AR-15 components and doesn't need a tool to be disassembled. And it even comes with an M-lock handguard now, although of course it's a lot shorter. Again, I'm not wanting to say it's on the same level. If you put them head to head, I have no doubt the HK would last longer, just continuous fire. But we compared it last time. I wanted to bring it up this time, and for at least half the money, I think there's a lot to be recommended even today in the T91. But our next gun, now it really does give the HK a run for its money, in my opinion. First comparison for our MR556, of course, the T91. Only a 3-position stock. Definitely a stronger spring. I will say the T91 surprises me with just how smooth it is. The spring is certainly lighter, for better or worse. The trigger has a shorter throw. It's not bad, really it isn't, but this does have a better trigger. I'm not gonna BS that. The HK trigger in this is quite nice. And this did come as a complete upper from T91 Tactical, but we did the lower here. So, trigger could be our fault. Again, it's not bad, but yeah. I'm actually surprised how smooth this is compared to. But, our next one's the real comparison. You knew the LMT had to come out. Now, this wasn't on the market the last time we talked MR556s. It's relatively new, at least the Estonian R20 reference rifle version here. But LMT has been doing their so-called 4th generation M16s for a while and has gained more than a couple of military contracts. And they really seem to be pushing the system forward. Now, to begin with, this is also a short stroke gas piston and easy access here to it. You don't have to disassemble. We have another M-lock handguard. And now this is a true monolithic upper. This is all one piece. But what's nice is the barrel is actually held in with bolts. So you can pull out the barrel in gas assembly. So even though this is a piston, I could buy a barrel with direct impingement and put it in. Even different lengths, of course. This has the 14.3 with pin and welded device. I could put on a true 16, or I could even go shorter and SBR it and put on a 10 or 12 inch. There are options. And I really like this monolithic upper that they've got going. And notice it has the safety here, of course, standard. But notice it has a mag catch and a bolt release here. And we have a true ambidextrous charging handle. And moving to this side, the ambidextrous safety, which is becoming a standard now. But now we have the ambi release for the bolt on the right, and of course a standard mag catch. And this comes with an enlarged trigger guard, although you could replace it. And just like with the HK, you can put the safety on with the bolt, or excuse me, the hammer uncocked. And it has a very nice 2-stage trigger as well. In fact, I'm not sure which one has a nicer trigger, guys. Standard AR-15 style tube. It comes with the slim stock here, which I actually really do like. Flash hider. This does have a bayonet lug, as did the Taiwanese gun, whereas the HK does not. But there again, most 416s don't. And it does come with one magazine, but it also comes with rail covers, and it has both front and rear mil-spec iron sights. And while it doesn't come with a soft tactical case, it does come with a very nice Vickers sling. So the LMT comes with more accessories, and it's kitted out right out of the box like the military rifle it's named after. Now this reference rifle edition is pretty comparable in price to this HK, but it is a few $100 less, and again, it does at least come with iron sights. But if you don't want the reference rifle, you can get LMTs starting out at $1,500 up to $2,000 and going from there. So they are cheaper than the HKs. And I don't know, man, the machining quality from LMT, I hate to say it's better than HK, but it could be getting close to just as good. And I just realized I became like the PSA fans. But what can I say? I've fired this particular gun quite a bit. I've fired previous MR556s in the past quite a bit. And, well, there's a reason I did not keep any of those. And this is definitely a keeper. This is a beautiful gun to shoot. But this is just table talking. The whole point of this revisiting is to go to the range. And that will be in part 2 with Fox, because everything I've told you today has to do with the setup, the ergonomics. I can't tell you about accuracy. And that's really where the MR556A1 is supposed to shine. But Fox can. So that's why that's a job for him, not me. But I definitely did want to give my first impressions, because before unboxing this, I really was considering that maybe it's time I keep an HK. But now I'm not so sure. Just to cleanse my palate and do this again. Plus letting the gun break itself in if we need to. The LMT here. I do like that it's a full ambi extended handle on this. It is somewhere in between the T91 and the HK in terms of the spring. It's a stiffer spring than the T91, but it's still lighter than the HK. It too has a 2-stage trigger. Very nice one. They are close, guys. The front stage on the HK is a little bit longer. The second stage where you pull is different. It's a little shorter on the LMT. In some ways, I think it's heavier. But otherwise, it feels lighter. It's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a longer on the HK. I think that's the thing. HK feels a little smoother on that second, on the brake. The LMT, the HK's brake is very soft, very nice. The LMT's brake is more of a glass rod style with very little travel afterwards. Both are very nice triggers, I'm not gonna lie. I do like that the LMT handguard is a little slimmer. It's very round. See it here? Whereas the HK's is thicker. Now that might give better heat dissipation. The LMT's is more closed off in the front end. Of course, I've got rail covers that could be open ventilation. So it's very possible this will heat up more. But yeah, I will say I like this grip more than the Magpul that is on the current HK. But I don't hate this Magpul style. In fact, on some guns, I think I'd really like it. Maybe on more of a bullpup. Kind of halfway tempted to put it on a Hellion and see how that feels. They're real close, guys, especially in terms of just how nice they feel. So I think that might come down to personal preference. But yeah, I just wanted to return to the table and to talk about that. But let's move on. Honestly, all three of these are nice, pleasant guns to shoot, in my opinion. But what these two have, that this one does not, is that they're in military configuration. Now, the Estonian reference rifle came already set up. The T91, now that was a bit of a project. It really was. But the parts were inexpensive and relatively easy to find. It was enough of a challenge that it was fun, but not so much that it was frustrating, you know what I mean? And the overall cost was such that you could afford it easily. And if HK parts were that way, 416 parts, I think I would be more in for it, even if the base rifle was that expensive. But to have such an expensive base rifle that needs so many parts, and those parts are probably one of the most expensive gun things on the planet. I mean, they put FN and SIG parts to shame. I just don't know that it would really be worth it. For a relatively inexpensive gun, the T91 is a great piston AR. Or if you want to step it up a bit, the LMT does great. It's going to be hard to beat it. But we're going to take all three of these out to the range. Maybe some other guns as well, depending on how much time we have that day. And run some rounds through them. But I really did want to investigate the newer MR556. I am very pleased they've kind of helped with the balance, because the early ones were very front heavy. But I don't know. I don't like that they took the sights away. And to be honest, kind of slim stocks are in. And this one, while it was fine when it first came out, it's starting to look a little chunky. But I do have something. Let me put it on to see if this makes it look a little better. Or rather, I thought I did. I remember seeing this in the box. But when I pulled it out, I realized it was actually MR762 only for the G28. Yeah, HK in their wisdom actually have separate extensions and thus stocks for their different caliber guns in the same series. I just thought this might be nice because of the adjustable cheek piece and the finely adjustable butt plate here. Nice stock, but I didn't look very closely. I just saw it before setting up for this video. Oh well, I do have a spare B5 SOP mod. I might try it. Nothing wrong with this stock, but kind of seems like if you're going to have a QD socket in front, you might as well have it in back too, which is what I like about this LMT, front and back. Alrighty guys, this is just my first impressions. Fox is very excited to fire an MR556A1. He's never even handled one before. I have not told him any of these opinions in this video beforehand, and I won't even publish this video before he shoots this gun, because I do not want to bias him one way or the other. It will be interesting to see his take, because it will be more from a shooting point of view than a historical accuracy and ergonomics. If we agree, it'll be two independently arrived at positions, and if we disagree, the same. And it's always possible that once I get all three out at the range, my opinion could change too. I still don't think it will keep me wanting to have one, mostly just because of the price versus what it would take to get this into a military config, but you never know. Now, if HK does a G95 edition that actually looks quite close to the German military version, the Bundeswehr version, I might be tempted by that. After all, I have a G36, so they make a good companion. But as far as an accuracy gun, a target gun, these are brilliant. They have, of course, a famous HK cold hammer forged barrel. Some people have said that these are finished out in the USA, maybe by Daniel Defense, but according to HK, they're at least German original barrels, even if they're finished here, maybe cut to size here. They start off in Germany. They have a 1 in 7 twist. What they don't have is a chrome line bore. HK says that this is for better accuracy, and that's 100% correct. Chroming can negatively impact accuracy. It can make cleaning easier, and it can extend service life, but then again, HK says these barrels have a 20,000 round service life. That's a lot. Most barrels in a military gun get replaced after 10 to 15,000 rounds, and they're saying this is at least 20, so it's a good barrel. So that doesn't bug me. It's kind of funny. Some of the things that bug people about the MR556 don't bother me at all. And some things that bother me, no one else seems to really notice. But, independent opinions. But I'm looking forward to shooting one of these again. It's been a while. And I do really enjoy giving new guns for Fox to try. Having him around has kind of restored some of my enthusiasm, because there just aren't that many new guns coming out each year, especially because of delaying so many things. This LMT was a very pleasant surprise last year, and actually this T91, when I started working on these a few years ago, that was also. So every time I've kind of gone into a piston AR-15 type, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm sure if money were no object, I would have a lot of fun making various clones on the 416, but unfortunately I am working class like the rest of us, and I have to kind of pick when and where I want. But we'll see. Maybe Fox will want to keep it, and then we can still shoot it from time to time. Kind of best of both worlds. But I really have to say, whereas HK did a really good job with this when they were designing it 15 years ago, I feel like companies like LMT have really caught up, and they're not the only ones doing piston guns now. So in the comments, let me know what you think. What do you think's the best piston AR-15 M4 type gun? And do you own one? What's your reasoning? The LMT came very highly recommended, and yeah, I can't even object to that at all. And of course, even some of the newer Colts, like the 6920 SOCOM, you know how much I love those. And in fact, the SOCOM, the M4A1 setup, the Block 1 and Block 2s were direct results of all the trials and testing done with the XM8 and then later the 416. So the gun is very important in history because it kind of pushed other guns to do better, if nothing else. But yeah, first impressions, first thoughts. What do you think? Let's discuss below. And as always, if you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, there's a link to the Patreon in the description below. With that, we will catch you very soon with part 2 at the range. This is Misha, and also on behalf of Fox, we'll catch you very soon next time.